What's up, y'all? This is Nina Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. And as you know, we go around this amazing planet of ours, finding the best humans on it to come on here to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. And I found this beautiful, beautiful, lovely woman. Her name is Kamini, and I hope I said that right. Kamini Wood is a certified professional coach, and she helps people take the courageous steps into identify their limiting beliefs. Love that. We'll talk about that, the reasons for their stagnation or feeling of not enoughness, love that word, so that they can have what they want professionally and personally in their lives to have a fulfilled life. And I love this kind of conversation, Kamini. Kamini?
You got it. You're amazing.
It's so important to me for you to feel respected and that I actually say it right. So, Kamini, I really am glad you're here. I love having these kind of conversations that help us like move forward, right? Even if it's just
Mm-hmm.
the 1%, just move forward. But before we get into the nitty gritties of all of what you're going to drop here today, let's learn a little bit about you, Kamini. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
So I actually grew up in Connecticut. I know you're in Connecticut. I
Yes.
grew up in a small town right outside of Hartford, Connecticut, a predominantly white town. So I grew up in a way where my daughter of immigrant parents. So my parents worked really, really hard. I throughout my younger years wanted to fit in and also didn't want to be a burden to my parents. So I spent a lot of my younger years kind of people pleasing and doing exactly what I was supposed to do, trying to be that good girl. Worked really hard. Ended up following the traditional path of getting into the business world. I actually worked in the .com industry when it was a big thing back in the early 2000s. Was a project manager, helped individuals grow into the roles that they played. Because as a project manager, one of the things you do is manage resources
Mm,
being people. So I really helped them develop who they wanted to be within the roles that they were playing within that business atmosphere. I went on to actually run my husband's law practice for 15 years. And in that role, once again, found myself helping people develop themselves professionally. And it started to bleed into that personal development as well. At the same time, I was going through my own self transformation. As I mentioned on the outset there, I developed a lot of people pleasing tendencies and
mm,
perfectionist tendencies growing up. So as I was in adulthood, a mother at the time, became a mother times five, realized how some of those tendencies were starting to be emulated in my own children and recognizing how it was starting to hold them back. I will often say, very honestly, to people that my children are my best teachers. So through that process, went through my own self transformation and learning how to recognize what was holding me back. So once I went through that process, as I had developed in a professional career in the professional capacity to really help people grow and become who they wanted to be on that professional front and personal front, realized that that was really my calling, to bring those two things together, to train specifically to help people understand themselves on that deeper level. And so now that's what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. I work one-to-one with people, providing that safety for them to really truly connect with themselves in order to liberate and be their authentic self so that they can move on to whatever they want professionally and personally.
oh, that's good. So let's go back a little bit. Like, where did
Mm-hmm.
the people pleasing come from, do you think? Was traditionally in you didn't I don't think you mentioned where your family's from. Where
Yeah, I have
where
an
are they?
Indian background. I have an Indian
Indian, okay.
background. Mhm.
Hmm.
I do think that the people pleasing came from a couple different things. One, as I mentioned, being the odd man out. Kamini is a different name, right? So it's not easy to pronounce. Definitely stuck out. I mentioned it was predominantly white town where I grew up. So part of the people pleasing was trying to make sure that I belonged. And so through that
Mm,
process, making sure that other people were happy was a way for me to gain that feeling of belonging and enoughness and worthiness. In addition, being the daughter of immigrants who are, concerned about providing for my sister and I didn't want to be a burden and I didn't want them to worry about me. So once again,
hmm.
people pleasing came into the fold there, where it was all about how can I ensure that they're okay and they're happy because they're already
Hmm.
working so hard.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? I think, especially when we're living in a place maybe where we don't see commonality, right?
Mhm.
So you really try to maybe mold yourself a little bit, maybe you just
Mhm.
fit in a little bit, so that maybe you're not picked on or bullied or looked at differently, right?
Exactly,
Kamini,
and you're
so
accepted, right? I
yeah,
think Brené
yeah,
Brown talks about it, the importance of belonging,
hmm,
and not just fitting in, and I think that's part of the when you're younger, you don't really know that difference, right? And so
right,
you make these you take on these narratives and behavior patterns because in that at that point in time, I was trying to fit in, and really it's about ultimately the crux of it was wanting to belong, and
yeah,
recognizing as an adult now with all of this work that I've done, that belonging really comes from within first. You belong to yourself
hmm,
first. And from
hmm,
there, you belong to those around you. It's not about fitting in and trying to be what somebody else wants you to be.
yeah, and it's such a good message that you're talking about, and something I wish that was said or expressed more, especially like on like social media channels and
Hmm.
things like that, right? Because I think one of the things that's hurting our children today is trying to be so much like whatever they're watching on social
Yep.
media, right?
Hmm.
Which can be such a challenge because there's some good things on there. It's not all bad,
Hmm.
but there's just some things that I notice myself that I'm just like, wow, we just really are not giving the best messages, a lot of people aren't. Yeah.
Absolutely. I work with teens all the way through adults, and I see this across the board. Our teens are
Hmm.
suffering from it, but then also even adults,
Hmm.
entrepreneurs, business owners who are on social media trying to promote their business. Oftentimes, that pull of comparison
Yeah.
is one
Yeah.
that like holds them back, right? And then
Yeah.
that triggers the limiting beliefs that keep them from actually growing into who they want
Hmm.
to be in terms of
Hmm.
that business owner or growing their own business. And instead, it becomes how do I measure up to this person, that I'm seeing on social media.
Right. No, it's interesting. I literally just finished a live about 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago. And I was just talking about that too. Is like, that I mean, well, we all know that comparison is the thief of joy, right? But
Yeah.
also the fact that you're comparing yourself to someone or something that you don't even know to be real, right?
Hmm.
So the
Hmm.
only one that you can actually really logically compare yourself to is you, because you know what you did
Hmm.
yesterday that maybe
Yep.
you shouldn't have done or could do better or
Hmm.
did great. And so
Hmm.
it only should be you're comparing yourself to, right, Kamini? Because we
Yeah.
hurt ourselves when we're trying to compare. If I try to compare myself to you, and I don't even know your backstory or if
Right.
what you're showing me is what it is or what
Hmm.
I you'll never find yourself, Kamini. So I want to know about your
Absolutely.
journey there.
Yeah.
What happened there? Do you remember like the moment when you said, okay, I know that you said your kids taught you lessons,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering what those aha moments were for you and how you started to make decisions to transform yourself.
Well, honestly, Nina, it still happens, right? So, because this is a journey, so
Mhm.
it happens in different levels and different evolutions. So, back when I recognized that my children were showing those people pleasing behaviors, that was like catalyst number one, right? And
Mm.
recognizing I needed to go through my own transformation in order to show up differently. So that was one way that I recognized that a shift needed to happen. But along the journey, part of it for me is noticing when that pull of comparison was rearing its ugly head, so to speak, where it's like, oh, I'm comparing myself to this person over here, and as you said, we don't know what that story is.
Mhm.
We don't know where that person is on their journey, or if our journeys are even similar in the slightest.
Right.
So for me personally, it really came to this place of that relationship with self and understanding what is it that I truly valued, what was meaningful to me, and what did I need. And those are my anchoring places to go, which is this meaningful to me? If the answer is yes,
I
then I'll
love that.
continue going down that path. If it's
Mhm.
not meaningful to me, then I get curious with it. It's not about
Mhm.
judgment. It's just getting curious and saying, okay, so what's this about? Where's this coming from? And a lot of times when we get curious, we can recognize that it's coming from some external place.
Mhm.
My oldest daughter is actually a professional ballerina. And one of the things that we routinely have talked about in the past and still comes up because, again, we're human. It's always about evolution and growing and continuing to expand. But in that industry, it is so easy to get caught up in that comparison. And it is so
Mhm.
important to recognize that it's all about the growth of where am I today compared to where I was before. And when
Mhm.
we do that now, we can actually see that growth. She can see how she's grown over the years in terms of her craft versus if she compares herself to the other dancers in her company,
Mhm.
it can easily drag her down. And also, their journey is nowhere near what her journey has been. Like,
Right.
it's a very personal thing.
I'm glad you're teaching them that too, because that'll set them up for the future, for their life, right? Because they'll be able to realize and recognize their greatness and who they are
Mhm.
as individuals and what they bring to the table, right? Because
Absolutely.
I remember struggling with that as well. Being younger and looking at everyone else, and I was a
Mhm.
young mom. I had my kid at 15 years old, right? So
Mhm.
I had a really stigma about looking at, oh man, well, she's going to college and I can't because I got a kid at home and I'm 15, like that kind of stuff,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
realized, well, you know what, that story is actually my superpower, like that's who
Absolutely.
I am, right? And so
Mhm.
it must it's a beautiful thing when you do the work on you, right,
Mhm.
Kamini, but also when you see your kids doing the work too. That's really fun, right? Because you must be able to, especially, let's just use the story you just used about your daughter. I mean, for her to recognize her growth and who she is and how much better she is today than maybe yesterday, like how empowering is that, right?
It's
um
amazing to
yeah.
watch because what people sometimes don't recognize is when they put in that work on themselves and they
Mhm.
put in that investment of time on themselves, it does come back in ways that you don't anticipate. So, just giving my daughter as an example, she's very young. However, she was given a principal role in a ballet just this fall.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's because of the self-belief over, I mean, yes, she's an amazing dancer. She's very gifted and very talented, and I'm saying that not just as mom, but as a fan.
Yeah.
But
I love that.
but it was her own self-worth and going within herself and only worrying about comparing herself to where she was, last season to this season in order for that to continue to grow and evolve into who she wanted and needed to be for herself. It wasn't about the other
So good.
dancers.
So good. And I know when I was reading your bio, you also help your clients with like getting through like past traumas or toxic
Yeah.
relationships and things, probably toxic relationships with themselves too, right? Because we have toxic relationships with others, but we definitely have a
Mhm.
toxic relationship when we can with
100%. Yes.
ourselves, right?
Yes.
So tell me
Yes.
about that. Tell me how you got into the coaching aspect of this and being with other and cognitive behaviors and all that, and
Yep.
how you're helping your clients. What is it that you're doing with them?
So a lot of the work that I do is centered around emotional awareness and then the inner critic. And you're
Love it.
absolutely 100% right that yes, toxic relationship with others, which we absolutely talk about because a lot of that has to do with boundaries and learning how to set boundaries. And as a recovering people pleaser, that's one of the things I really believe in and wholeheartedly work on with my clients is boundaries. But that toxic relationship with self is also really important. And that comes down to how are you talking to yourself, how are you seeing yourself, and how are you treating yourself, which is
Mhm.
all about learning self compassion and recognizing that, a lot of us, especially for a high achiever, or we've got lofty goals and we go after them and we strive and we strive and we strive. A lot of times we think that that inner critic is what makes us go further. And we actually shame ourselves thinking, oh, if I shame myself, then that's the thing
Mhm,
that's going to
mhm,
make me continue
mhm.
to work harder. And it's the opposite. Because every time we shame ourselves or we allow the inner critic to take hold, maybe in the very short term, we might see a little bump, but in the long term, and we're playing a long game, right? Life is a
Yeah,
long game. It's not the
yeah.
short game. Eventually it starts to eat away at our self-esteem, our self-confidence, and our own self-love, which actually will lead us down the path of not being able will eventually plateau because
Yeah.
shaming will hold you to this is all you're going to get versus when you can lean into self-kindness over judgment, you can lean into being aware of the present moment versus like living in the past or future tripping. So it's all about self-compassion. We can actually propel ourselves so much further.
Mhm. Talk to me a little bit for those who are listening and are really jiving with what you're saying, right? Because I know that as entrepreneurs and leaders and stuff, this is a real thing, right? Like this critique, this
Yeah.
criticizing us ourselves and all that, that's real, especially when you're
Mhm.
trying to gain your clients but you didn't get any. You put out a great post but nobody's commented. Like it happens to
Mhm.
all of us, right?
Yep.
So talk to me about the short game versus the long game. What do you mean when you said, this is a long game, not a short game? Let's break that down.
Yeah, so, we have to ask ourselves, are we setting up our business for the only from here to like next week, or are we trying to actually build a business for the
Yes.
long term and the long haul? And so
Right.
yeah, we may put out that post and there's no comment or there's no reaction, but guess what, we showed up and we put out that post, and we don't even know who might be lurking in the background. A lot of times people are looking at our social media posts and they're not actually responding or doing
Yeah.
anything with it. They're seeing it, they're recognizing who you are, they're hearing your message, and they might show up, several months from now. So it is about the long game. It's not just about, this short term, do I
Yeah.
get the quick fix? Do I get the quick win? It's about
Mhm. Mhm.
recognizing that we're in this, to build a business. And when we
Mhm.
come to that place and we recognize, oh my gosh, my inner critic is the one who's telling me I haven't done enough, or, that wasn't good enough. It's, well, wait a minute. Did I show up? Did the post mean something to me? Did I have a message that I really felt called to put out there? Great. Then you're aligned with yourself. You keep putting that out there, because that's what this is all about. You're building a business that means something to you. And as long as
Right.
you're aligned with yourself, you're taking those meaningful actions, committed actions for the long term.
Yeah. I mean, just like this conversation right now is evergreen, right? It'll
Mhm,
always be out there. And
mhm,
and that's a good thing, right? So I'm thinking about the coach that I'm working with now. I mean, I think I heard her message like 8 months ago. Like
mhm,
saying like 8 months
mhm.
ago, but it got stuck in my head,
Right.
and then I had her on the podcast. We had a phenomenal conversation, and that got stuck in my head. And
Yep.
it wasn't until I was ready, which was like maybe 5 months later, where I finally reached out and said, "Okay, I'm ready now." You know what I'm
Mhm,
saying? Like, I know what I
mhm.
wanna do, and I know that you do this particular
Yep.
thing very well. And
Mhm.
so, just to bounce off of what you're saying, exactly. And that goes the same with our personal development, right? With our self-development. That's a life game. That's
Yes.
definitely a
Yes.
long game. That's for
Yes.
life,
Yes, exactly. I have
right?
conversations with people all the time and they're just like, they want the quick fix, and I always slow them down. I'm like, "But what's the purpose for that? Are we just trying to
Right,
do this for the next 60 days, or is this
right,
for your life?
right,
This is for the
right,
long haul."
right. I mean, it's because, I remember my kids used to laugh at me because I'm a perfectionist, also a recovering people pleaser. And
Mhm.
but I learned my boundaries. Let me tell you something. There is freedom in boundaries.
Oh, yes.
Holy crap!
Absolutely.
I was
Oh
mad I
my
didn't
gosh,
do this a
yes.
long time ago, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
So freeing, so
Mhm,
freeing.
mhm,
I remember when I first started saying no, how awful I felt inside. I'm like, "That
mhm.
feels yucky, I don't like it," you know? And then when I realized the freedom that came with not what's that? Promising
Overfunctioning.
myself. Yeah, and over
Mhm,
yeah, like,
mhm, mhm.
wow! Now I
Yes,
just say
yeah,
no because it's fun.
yeah. And you know what I always say too, like that uncomfortability proves to us that we're at our growth zone. Like we are
Yeah,
on that edge, and once we
yeah.
keep going, we're, you know, so much is
So good.
possible on the other side of it.
It's so
Absolutely.
good.
Yep.
So good. So I know that you're currently working with clients and stuff, and
Yep.
you actually do a lot of great things with them. So I'd like to like kind of expand that a little bit. So I'd like to know maybe like the process, or like when if somebody's really like listening to us right now and they're like, wow, I really like her, I like her energy. What's that process look like? What kind of, I guess what I'm trying to say is, who do you like to work with? What kind of, what's your client model? What is that?
Yeah, so I work with a lot of high achievers, so entrepreneurs, executives across the board. So it's a lot of professionals who are really
Yeah.
working
Yeah.
hard to get to that next level. And really the work that I help them with is recognizing where they might be holding themselves back, because oftentimes, especially if we're in the entrepreneurial world, we are always on the go 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 go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
many times we're on autopilot. So allowing for that space to recognize where we might be on autopilot and it's no longer serving us. Also, recognizing what might be those limiting beliefs or that inner critic that is holding you back and to the next level of that business. Or with the professionals I work with, what's holding you back to the next level of the career that you're on.
Yeah.
So that's really who I love to work with, because ultimately, those individuals have so much potential. It's just recognizing where these old stories and old narratives might be holding them back.
That's good. So
Mhm,
you work with both men and women. It doesn't have to
mhm.
be just women. Okay. Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. So when so if somebody's listening right now and wants to know kind of like I see what you're saying about the journey, about where they're getting stuck. And I bet you that my audience just peaked up a little bit, because I don't care who you are, we all get stuck in something. We really,
Mhm,
really do.
mhm.
So what would you think would be kind of like the first steps for people to recognize that maybe that they are stuck, or that they're not at their not going towards their full potentials? There's like, are there red flags or anything like that that people should be looking out for?
That's a great question. I think it's different for different people, but oftentimes when we catch ourselves feeling either, well, a couple things. One, if we're emotionally drained, a lot of the time, or we just kind of feel exhausted and not really sure, that could be an indicator that there's some stagnation or some burnout kind of lurking in the background. But other things, though, are when we catch ourselves stuck in the I shoulds. I should be doing this or I should be doing
Mm,
that. That's a really good indicator
it's a
that
good one.
something is coming up where we're feeling like there's something else there, but we're not quite sure what it is.
Mhm.
And then, of course, the other one is recognizing how you're talking to yourself, because many times that inner critic is going to be a big indicator as to where you might be holding yourself back.
That's good. That's good. And so what you're saying is be aware of language. Be aware of your
Absolutely.
language, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
That's good, because we tend to do that. We tend to not recognize that limitation that we are constantly telling ourselves, and we don't even realize that it's there, right? I love the way you said it's the feeling of not enoughness. Enoughness, is that what you said? Yeah,
I
enoughness.
do.
I
Yeah.
love that.
My little word.
Yeah. I love it. I love it because it's true. I think I know, actually. I work with only women. I don't work with male, but I work with women, and I realize that there is a lot of that
Hmm. Hmm.
second guessing yourself, even though you're a pro at what you do, you
Mhm,
know?
mhm.
And
Yeah,
I that
it's
yeah,
self-doubt, right? And a
yeah.
lot of times I find that that's the one, I talk about imposter syndrome a lot, and usually
Mhm.
it's the false belief of I'm not enough, and that's a big one that lurks in the background. I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy. Those are the biggest
Mhm.
ones that we come
Mhm.
across. Yeah.
What do you do
I'm sorry.
personally yourself when you are going through something of not enoughness? Because I know, Kamini, that we go through this in our whole life, right?
Mm,
We're gonna go through the imposter syndrome. We just are. I think that's just a human nature thing, right? That your brain tries to do to protect you, and will, be there to kind of cause like a limiting wall, if you will, for you, because it's trying to protect you. It's trying not to let you go to that scary place of something new, something you don't know yet. So what do you do personally yourself, like when you realize that when you're going through that, or you're in that place?
Oh, that's a great question. For me personally, and I'm sorry that I'm coughing in your ear
That's
as
okay.
well. Um, for me, it's about slowing down and separating myself from the thought,
Oh,
right?
that's
Because the
good.
thought is just a thought. So it's
Hmm.
about recognizing that I'm having the thought, that whatever it may be, and naming it. Because what happens is we fuse to that not enoughness thought. So if we can allow for some separateness between ourselves and the thought, then we can come back to, what's meaningful to me and what is the committed action I'm going to take that's aligned with my personal value system.
That's good. It's the pausing, isn't it?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't do enough of that, I don't think. You know? It's a go, go, go situation. Especially,
Mhm.
I mean, this Kamini, Kamini,
Many,
Kamini,
many.
Kamini, such a beautiful name. I gotta get it. Okay. So this because as a entrepreneur, and working even with your husband, right? Because he was an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
and you were working in his that you hit these walls where you're working nonstop. And I think one of the things you probably are even seeing is a lot of burnout,
Mm,
right? A lot of people
yes.
feeling that real serious burnout, and that's a real thing. I don't care, that's a real thing. What do you say to people who are listening right now and they're feeling overwhelmed, or not enoughness, or this burnout feeling? What would you think would be like the first step for them to start to recover?
Well, the very first thing is to self care is so important, right? So getting back into the present moment versus thinking about the past and ruminating on the past or worrying about the
Mm,
future. So it's about the here and now. That's the very first thing.
I love that.
And then it's about recognizing that they're, again, separating yourself from some of the thoughts. So as entrepreneurs, a lot of times the thought becomes, if I work harder, I got to work harder, I got to do more. And sometimes we have to slow down to actually go faster. And what I
Yes.
mean by that is slow it down, get in the present moment. What do I need right now? What's meaningful to me? What are the one or two committed actions I'm going to take in alignment with that? And then work our way through that versus trying to do all the things all at once super fast, because what ends up happening is we spin out or we burn out, and then we can't move forward after that because we're just exhausted.
Right, and then you can't move I mean, you really can't move forward at all. And,
Mhm.
it's funny is I was just talking to you about how I was doing my live, and that's what it was about. It was called, Aiming Low to Gain Much.
Mm.
And it was about, just, almost the same thing, the concept of, doing things you don't really want to do, the small little things that may seem unimportant because you're looking at the big goal and that's all you want, and you don't
Yep.
realize that there's these little steps that
Yep.
actually help you get there healthy. You get
Mhm.
there in a
Mhm.
healthy way, you know? So you're saying the same thing. It's like take those small, take those moments, the present time, be present, think of your feelings, know who you are, actually be
Yep.
here, right?
Yes.
Because we
Yes.
are always there, over there, doing
Yes.
that.
We're either living in the then or the there, right?
Yeah,
Either the past or the future. And
yep,
it really is about process over outcome.
I love
Sometimes we get
that.
so attached to the outcome, and it's about,
Yeah,
what if I'm present for the process? Because then I
mhm.
get there and it's the outcome that was meant to happen versus this thing that I really attached to, and I don't know if that's exactly what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. This was such a good conversation. Thank you for dropping all this knowledge too, because I think I speak to a lot of my listeners, which is great. I have an active community, and
Mhm.
that's one of the things that they're always commenting on or saying is like, "Oh, I needed this today, and this was
Mhm.
awesome, and I've been struggling with this." So I really do feel like this conversation is going to hit a lot of points. So before I let you go, though, I know that, like I said, I have an active community. So if they want to work with you and they want to really like dig in deep with moving forward, how do we do that? How do we get in contact with you? How do we
Yeah.
connect?
I'm on the web at kaminiwood.com, and they can read more about me. There's a lot of blog posts as well that might be helpful to your listeners. And then I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest, all with the handle It's Authentic Me.
Oh, I like that. It's
Thank
authentic
you.
me. Check that out,
Mhm.
guys.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I love your name, Kamini. I just wish I
Thank
would have
you.
gotten it right. I tried to get it right as much as possible because
You did
it's such a
amazing.
beautiful, unique way to pronounce your name, and I just love it. So thank you for spending time with me and sharing this space and really just pouring into my audience. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I knew that you would fall in love with her, right? Great energy, isn't that? I just love people like her. All right. So she's amazing. I'm going to make sure to link all of her information below because I want you to be authentically you. And she wants to get that with you as well. So make sure that you guys connect with her, show her some love, work with her if she really resonated with the message of what you're going through. And I'll be honest with you. I always say everyone needs a coach, a mentor, somebody to help them through because we don't always see our blind spots. And it's important to have people that will come alongside you because they really care. Honestly, I went on her website. She has all the certifications. Why is that important? She took the time. She said, I'm going to take the time to learn all this stuff so I can really help people. So make sure that you guys connect with her. Okay. I love you guys so much. Thank you for everything that you do. This is Nina Perez, straight talk, no sugar added. Until next time.